Welcome to Purpose 360. I'm Carol Cohn, and today more than ever before, companies, brands, and their partners need to stand for something beyond the bottom line. I've created this program to provide insights and ideas to share with you so that you can apply them to your work the very next day. The goal here is to uplevel your purpose and to benefit companies and society. So please join us. Today's guest, Balaji Ganapathy. Balaji is Global Head of CSR and Chief Social Responsibility Officer for Tata Consultancy Services. And Tata is perhaps the oldest, they're over 151 years old, a purpose-driven company in the world. And they were started by Jamsetji Tata, and their ethos is truly about incredible services and products, but they also give back through the Tata Trusts 2/3 of their profits to go back into society. Extraordinary. And so I'm so excited to have Balaji with us today because I got to visit Tata in Mumbai in 2014, and I have revered this company forever. I always like to start by the numbers. So let's just talk about TCS, as they're called. They were founded in 1968. Their headquarters are in Mumbai, India. They're over 22 billion in revenues. They have almost 450,000 employees, representing 146 nationalities. They're in over 50 countries around the globe, and their parent company is Tata Sons. TCS is a global top 3 information technology leader. And in our prep interview, Balaji said it's Accenture first in size, then TCS, and on a good day, they beat out IBM. So I think that's extraordinary. In his role, Balaji is focused on harnessing the power of purpose, people, and technology to advance access, equity, and inclusion across society. Under his stewardship, TCS has leveraged its technology, innovation, thought leadership, and a global pool of skilled-based volunteers with a number of actual hours. It's going to blow you away. We'll talk about that in a moment. To make a significant impact on the communities in which TCS employees live and work, with a special focus on impacting women and young girls, minorities, and underrepresented groups. Under his leadership, TCS has been recognized in many ways by Points of Light as a Civic 50 leader, by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and as well, Balaji was awarded in 2017 the Charlie H. Moore Award for Leadership in Corporate Community Engagement by CECP, Corporate Chief Executives for Purpose. I have been working with CCP for many years, and that's an extraordinary award. He also serves on a variety of boards, from Million Women Mentors Leadership Council to NPower's National Advisory Council to the World Economic Forum Steering Committee and many others. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Carol. Yes, you did manage to embarrass me, but I think coming from a celebrity like yourself who is so well respected and regarded in the circles of purpose and cost marketing, I think it's just a privilege to be here.
It's really my privilege to have you on the show, but thank you for those kind comments. Actually, I just want to say to our listeners that you are the real deal. Because if you and we're going to have show notes from our conversation, so we're going to link other interviews you've done, one that was an HR technologist, which you hit the nail on the head about why purpose. It's not about just volunteering or philanthropy, but when it's embedded in the business, how it provides competitive advantage for an organization. So let's get started. In your role, you focus on harnessing the power of people, purpose, and technology to advance access, equity, and inclusion across society. What does that mean to you personally? And how do you live that mission in your role at TCS?
Thank you for asking that question, Carol. I think we are all blessed to be born in this generation, in this era, where I think a variety of factors have come together to poise us in a place where we can make significant change in some of the inequities that exist in society. And I say that despite the COVID crisis that is upon us, it is the worst of times, but it is bringing out the best of people. But even before the COVID crisis hit us, if you look at the confluence of the rise of digital technologies and the ease of adoption of those technologies to solve problems facing people, businesses, economic markets, and society, we couldn't be in a better place to harness some of those and address the biggest problems facing society, whether it is social, gender, economic inequities, cultural inequities. I think it is a great opportunity, and I am a big believer that human intelligence drives artificial intelligence. Coming from a technology company that is really helping shape the growth and transformation of enterprises around the world, I feel privileged to be in that position. And I think, bringing the power of technology, driving it by embedding it into the company's purpose, and leveraging the skills and expertise of employees as well as larger community leaders is where the opportunity lies for us to make significant change in society.
So let's talk. I want to get right to your philosophy. You say that purpose is the new technology. So that's incredibly intriguing. So can you explain that?
Yeah, I think it is such a powerful statement. Purpose is the new tech. And that symbolizes the life that we live in, the time that we are in. Over the previous 100 years, if you see how industry and companies and enterprises have evolved, we have gone through a whole cycle of people who are proprietors were having equal power as people who are working in the companies, to a time when it became more mechanized and industrialized, to the shareholder capitalism and the whole era of shareholder capitalism, to now in the last few years there is a rising consciousness that stakeholder capitalism, which is most importantly including society and employees as part of your business model, is becoming very prominent. Of course, being part of the 151-year legacy of the Tata Group and 51 years of TCS, this is something that helps us as an organization thrive. In the last few years, when all companies saw the opportunity in using technology to really change their business models, they approached it with such vigor, right? And even whether they integrated it into their business model or not, everybody wanted to talk about why they were a tech company, right? And I think quickly we have shifted with rising social consciousness and societal tensions and the polarization that is happening. We have quickly landed on a place where purpose is that next label that companies wants to use. But in reality, unless you really integrate purpose into your business model, the opportunity that is there to capitalize and make value, shared value for all stakeholders is missing, which is why I think the power behind the statement, purpose is the new tech, is symbolizing that Let's take and integrate purpose into the core of our business and create shared value for all of our stakeholders.
So I want to be clear to our listeners that purpose is the new tech is your point of view. It's your philosophy. It's not that you're recreating somebody else's point of view. Also, I want our listeners to know that your background is really, really interesting. You have an engineering background, but you also have an advanced degree in human resources and an organizational development. And so you've got both, I'd say, the left brain and the right brain, the head and the heart, that's critical to drive purpose into the organization to take advantage of its incredible outcomes. So let's talk about first Tata as a company, the parent, the values, the ethos, and how that when TCS was born 50 years ago, how that trickled down into the direction of TCS.
The Tata Group has always been known for leading with trust. And in the era of people who were, really growing as businessmen, the founders and the ex-chairmen of the group have always maintained that, they're not in the job of building business. They are in the job of building nations, right? So we've always seen ourselves as industrialists and building institutions that can last beyond our own lifetimes is the ethos that runs the group and the company. And TCS was born out of a similar vision and an endeavor to bring the power of technology to support the nation of India back in 1968. But very quickly, we realized that the same kind of knowledge and capabilities that we had could be applied to solving problems that businesses are facing across the world. And that is how the global model of software and services was born. And we feel privileged and humbled to have contributed to that. Even today, the fundamental purpose of the group, which is to uplift the life of the community and people who live in the community, is embedded in the company's ethos and values. I'm very pleased to share that even now, in the last few months, when we relooked at our purpose and our mission and how we articulate who we are to the world, being purpose driven was the top one, and it came without any debate because that is the value system that we stand for. And in these changing times, we also are driven by resilience because resilient communities and resilient businesses need the kind of capabilities to support that and being adaptable. I think we have gone through 3 or 4 or 5 cycles of technology changes over the 51 years of our existence. But what has remained is the core focus on doing what is best for business, doing best what is best for our people, and doing what is best for the communities where we live and work. And that has been unchanged. So that's the big picture view I wanted to share about TCS and our journey as an organization and a community leader.
What does the best of TCS mean? That's commentary that you have on your website and that you've had in some of your interviews.
I think, the vision that we have for CSR is that TCS can empower people and communities by connecting people to opportunities in the digital economy. And our mission is to create inclusive and diverse pathways for women, youth, and marginalized groups. And in order to do that, the best way to do that is, as you alluded to earlier, it's not just about volunteerism. It is not just about grant making and writing checks. Those can be tools in your portfolio. But you have to bring the same vigor and the same capabilities that you apply to your business problems and how you support your customers, you have to bring to solve societal problems. So the best of TCS is what I call the 4 Cs, which is our intellectual capital, our technology capital, our human capital, and financial capital. And this is the model. When I stumbled into the space of CSR about 10, 12 years ago and had the opportunity to lead this effort initially in North America, this is the model I went with because that's what I knew from the business side. And applying that model, what I've learned and discovered is that if you bring together cross sector leaders to understand the problem and solve the problem, not parachute in with a solution, but come together to explore and create a shared solution, you are starting at the right foot, right? And then our core strength is technology. So how can I bring technology to exponentially scale and grow the impact of that solution? And my third strength as a company is, 450,000, almost half a million people. Uh, you know, yes, their time is valuable, but more importantly, their skills and their talent. How can I harness that? How can I give them a chance to fulfill their purpose by applying that against community solutions? And the last part is financial capital, which is to support bringing the solution to life. And all of our partnerships, if you talk to any of our partners, we are very upfront with them that the road to being a partner is long, but once you are a partner, you are in it for creating long-term societal outcomes. Because this is the genre of CSR that we stand for, and that is how we are bringing the best of TCS to support our initiatives.
I just want to underscore a point. Having a long term commitment to a partner truly builds trust. It builds performance, especially when I'm sure that you're very candid about things at work, things that need to evolve. And so many companies, they'll have a relationship. Maybe they'll write a 1-year contract. Maybe they'll talk about 2 years, but they don't have the long-term view. So that's really, really important. I want to ask you to talk about some of your favorite initiatives. Part of my question is, which came first, the initiatives or your vision to help attracting the best and brightest employees? And you said, gee, I got to recruit. Young people today, they want to get involved in companies that have aligned values. So was it that recognition to get the best and the brightest, or going back to you've got an obligation to heal society and you created the programs first?
That is a tough one to answer.
It could be both.
Yeah, it is both. And to be truthful, each feed into each other, right? I think our values are informed by the people and the participative and the collaborative environment that we have. And our people are inspired by the values and how we live those values in our culture as well as the programs that we do, right? So our programs have always evolved based on what is the local need. And I mentioned that connecting people to opportunity in the digital economy, that is our foremost mission. And in order to do that, we are razor sharp focused that we need to address the whole ecosystem of education to skilling to employment and entrepreneurship. And so our flagship programs all rest within that trajectory of K-12 education within the education space. We do all the way from adult literacy programs to create literacy among adults. For example, there are more than 68 million Indians who are still illiterate. And over the last few years, we have brought 1 million of them into the formal economy, into being socially included and on a pathway to livelihood by providing technology based solutions to make them literate, right? But also in the space of K-12 education in the US, realizing that when I said human intelligence drives artificial intelligence, that human intelligence is no longer the 19th century skills, right? We talk, or the 20th century skills. We talk about 21st century skills as if it is already prevalent and understood and adopted in our education systems. But it is not. And it is our view that computational thinking is the foundational skill that helps young people use that human intelligence to drive the technologies of the future. We have a program called Ignite My Future, which helps build the capacity of educators and students. And it is in curriculum lesson plans that are aligned to all state and local standards. And we provide free professional development as well as resources to enable educators to do that. And today, in a 2-year period, We have over 11,500 educators and almost 700,000 students in the US education system who are now growing up with these skills learned across the core subjects that they are in. So it's not a new subject to learn, but a new way of learning, so that this becomes a foundational skill for them, and they recognize that they are growing up with these skills, right? So that is in the space of education. In the space of skilling, demystifying what technology means is really important for our young people to move from consumers of technology to creators and innovators of technology. And our program Go IT for the past 10 years has been doing that in North America and on a global scale. Today, that program runs in about 77 cities across US and Canada and in many countries across the world. And the core of it is TCS employees who are professionals, who are mentors. But it is a very agile and modular program. Whether you're a school, you're an educator, you're a nonprofit organization, a state, an agency, the agility that we said symbolizes who TCS is built into that program. And they learn to identify community problems. They learn what sustainable development goals are about. They learn design thinking and human centered design, and then apply that using technology. So it's not just about creating a bunch of coders. It is important to know coding and computer science, but it is even more important to understand the digital innovation life cycle. So that is in the skilling space. And similarly, in the employment and entrepreneurship space also, we have flagship programs that connect people who are maybe one step away from opportunity, but have not got to that, the last mile. How do I bridge the last mile? There is a confidence element, but there is a preparedness element of the skills that are biz skills, right? The power skills that are required in the world of work. So we translate that and help them do that. The last thing I want to mention about the entrepreneurship space is that in many parts of the world, today we are doing it in India, where rural India and developing rural India is important for the economy to grow in a holistic manner. Because migration to cities has been always the way in which economic uplift has happened. But a majority of the people live in the villages. So we created a program called Bridge IT, where we work along with rural entrepreneurs for a 4-year period to help them gain those skills, have the technology, have the connectivity, and create solutions that can help their village and people in their village. Now, when I go around the country in the US and look at some of our Middle America and some of the states and cities that are devastated by the developments in the last 20 years, where manufacturing and other businesses have changed their outlook and now have shifted to a different model. I believe a similar need exists here too, where we can help young people become entrepreneurs and really succeed where they are at and create new economic value there. So these are some of the programs I wanted to highlight and the thought process with which we approach those.
I want to turn to your engagement with recruiting and retention, because I have always said that purpose, the number one stakeholder, is employees. Whether you are creating your purpose or you're implementing your purpose or you're trying to attract the best and brightest. And so our listeners probably don't know that TCS is one of the top 2 employers in the United States hiring local talent, and that you've added over 20,000 people in the past 5 years. And so that's why, I talk to so many companies and they just don't understand. They go, oh, purpose. Yeah, I want to partner with a cause and, get all this publicity exposure. That's not the power of it, as you know. It's about bringing people into your organization and then working with them and embedding purpose into their career track. They're helping them to live their personal purpose. And so I'd love you to talk about the process by which you're utilizing these wonderful programs you've talked about. But I read that when you're hiring someone, that their first customer, so to speak, is a not-for-profit, and they're learning how to relate to them. So can you talk about that? That's genius.
You've done your research really well, Carol. That is, underreported, and I would say an area for work in CSR that we don't talk about much ourselves, but is a very, very powerful tool. So thank you for bringing that up. I think, see, young people or any, I mean, I think the term millennial is the most abused term in recent times because it covers a whole generation of people, not just young people who are in their teens or just entering the workforce, right? So if I just focus on the new entrants to the workforce and the way in which they can identify with what a company stands for, I can sell all I want in the recruitment cycle and say, hey, come work for the this company. It is the best and the brightest collection of people. What we do is really unlocking the technology solutions that can help healthcare companies, pharmaceutical companies, banks, financial institutions, retailers, travel and hospitality companies. We have such a variety of things to offer. But all of that is shallow if I don't connect them with what the company's true values stand for right off the bat. And so, about 5 or 6 years ago, we started this program as part of every new hire that we bring into the company at entry level goes through a 3 month training process where they learn about the company, learn about the kind of a finishing school of the kind of offerings that we have, the kind of businesses that we serve, and prepares them to jumpstart into their first job. And as a part of the 3 months, their first client is a nonprofit client. And we have worked with a variety of partners to identify those NGOs, nonprofit organizations across the US who have needs, and then connected them with our new hires, but also provided our new hires with mentors and through an agile model, having scrum masters and product owners who could help drive that agenda. And what it really brings them out of them is the sense of understanding that not only can they earn money by doing this job, they can fulfill something that is more innate and inherent. And this has been a wild success for us in terms of retention. I think we have more retention among our entry level talent if I look at it over a 3 to 5 year period than some of our other segments, right? And we are one of the leading companies in the industry in terms of retention, right? Globally, our retention numbers are somewhere around 87, 88 percentage annualized. So it's a great matter of pride, but the intentionality behind that is you put a few people together who have complementary skills, right? In design, in analysis, in programming, and then you give them an opportunity to engage on a one-on-one basis with a nonprofit of the need. It could be a local nonprofit in Cincinnati who is trying to fight homelessness, and they want their voice to be heard, but they are not taught of technology beyond putting up a website. If you talk to them about creating a technology roadmap and how they can bring it to life by making small investments, maybe having a cloud based setup, subscribing to some of the services, they set themselves up in a way and get a capacity and consultative inputs that can really supercharge their own services, right, that they provide to their beneficiaries. So this is a model that the we don't need to do anything because the people who are involved in it see the results of their labor. They see their ideas, their thoughts, their consultation being taken and used in a way that is changing people's lives. So that is the power of a program like that. And I have a talented team and with great ideas, and that's how we worked internally across different functions to bring it to life.
So often you hear, well, I might want to work for this company because they share my values. But you've taken this farther. You've moved them to participants in solving some of society's greatest challenges. And you've also, you talk about in that interview with HR technologist, and we're going to put a link to that in our show note, that, within TCS, employees rise from volunteers and mentors to societal champions. It's so strong in terms of keeping people bonded to you.
Yes, and because we want them to rise from being participants to custodians, right?
Mm-hmm.
And who is a custodian? Somebody who is going to be not just an ambassador, but an embodiment of what you stand for, right? And we have intentionally created programs that can ladder them from being exposed to early volunteering opportunities to being CSR leads who can, run service projects in their location and then graduate to being CSR, leaders of specific programs, because we have large programs that impact community across the country, right? And we believe that our employees who are leading solutions for customers are the best ones to lead the community solutions too. They need to help only to get understand the context of how they should approach this. And we have, in fact, created a first of a kind within the company professional development program called Leaders with Purpose, where a very exclusive cohort of about 25 to 50 people are identified each year and put through a 3 month training program where they learn about philanthropy, they learn about purpose, they learn about stakeholder engagement, they learn about non-profit organizations, and then actually work on a live project with a nonprofit in their locality and bring a new initiative to life by helping them discover their own innate skills and layering more professional skills. Because you would agree with me that there is a view among the uninformed or the underinformed that CSR is so easy to do, anybody can do it. Of course, that is the first thing that I understood when I got into this space, that nothing could be further from the truth, right? It's same kind of professional skills you need in a business is what you need in CSR. It's a professional space. So this gives our employees a ladder to grow up into different roles that they can perform and ultimately become civic leaders. I would like them to participate along with city councils and with local advisory boards in a capacity where they are actually able to bring their own experiences to bear. And that is the trajectory that we are on.
Let's just pivot the moment to the current pandemic, because I know that in every one of our interviews with leaders such as yourself, our listeners want to hear about what has been your response. And I know that it's vast, so that could be a separate show. But what are the highlights of TCS response?
I think first and foremost, I want to thank those who are on the front lines and the healthcare workers. I think we need to reiterate that every time we can, that their sacrifices, their efforts is what is helping us stay safe today, right? We have the privilege, and I'm grateful that we are well to do and we are able to be in a place which is safe. But so many of our colleagues are putting themselves in harm's way to help us stay safe. So thankful for that. Now, in terms of TCS's response, I'll break it up into two parts. Since we have global operations, including in China and Wuhan, we saw the early part of this crisis emerge in late December, early Jan. And immediately from a business perspective, the two or three things that we focused on, first and foremost being health and safety of our employees. Their safety and well-being has been paramount, and we have gone above and beyond and created the kind of infrastructure and resources to make that happen. Thankfully, after all this weeks and months, we have a very small population, less than, I would say, the low double digits of people who have been exposed or have contracted this illness and recovered, and thankfully no fatalities within the company. The second thing that we did was to look at keeping the critical services on for our customers, because a lot of our customers, our global customers, are leaders in the healthcare, pharmaceutical space, government, and agencies that are disbursing benefits. We have bank and financial institutions that people need access to. So our second goal was to keep the lights on and make sure that those services were uninterrupted and continue to support the new model, the new model and the virtual model where most of the world was under a clampdown or some sort of stay-at-home orders, right? And the third area, which is the second part of our response, was to immediately look at pivoting how we can support the communities during this time of need. And we have been running projects under 4 tracks. I won't go into each of those, but just mention to you that first and foremost is building resilience among the healthcare and the health system, including healthcare workers, equipment, looking at research and drug molecule discovery to support bringing a cure, all the way to working with nonprofit organizations to look at food security and homelessness, etc. So that is the first track. The second is adapting to online method for education systems. A lot of our programs and partnerships are with those who are serving students and educators. So within a week of this pandemic setting in, we were able to pivot to a virtual model where we are offering all of our flagship programs that I spoke to you earlier in a virtual mode. And that has ensured that people are gainfully engaged, and educators have the resources to support them. Parents have some tools in hand so that they can use it with their students, their children rather, and the show goes on, right, in the way it can. Right. So adapting that and then providing additional resources. In fact, we have education offerings on our business side, which we completely opened up for free because educators and institutions need that kind of support system to, for a virtual learning experience. The third and the fourth tracks are how we are using our technology and innovation to support creating new products and services, new applications to match demand with supply. And the final one is working grassroots level with the communities through our own employees and volunteers, as well as the network of entrepreneurs and beneficiaries who are part of our network. I mean, you cannot imagine the kind of inspirational stories that come out. Young entrepreneurs who are doing ambulance services, so that they can earn teleconsultation, so that people don't need to step out of their homes. Women in rural India stitching masks. Some of them have done thousands of masks so that their local community, with whatever material they had, so that their own village is protected. So I'm sure we are hearing these sort of inspiration stories all around, which is what I shared earlier, that I think the crisis is not over, but I think our resilience as a community, as people, this has brought us to more closer together.
For our listeners, we also have pivoted and we have a sister podcast now to Purpose 360 called Humanity at Its Best. And it's people's stories just doing big, medium, small things to help out. I can't finish this interview without asking you about the New York Marathon. When you took it over, I'm going like, I kind of know TCS a little, but why? Why did you take that on?
I think the premise behind that and the reason why we are involved in health and fitness events and sports events is that as a large employer employing almost 500,000 people, ensuring that we provide the opportunities for our own employees and their families to stay healthy and manage their health was an important one. Our previous CEO, who's a current chairman of the Tata Group, Chandra, became a runner himself, and he inspired a lot of us in his fight against diabetes and managing his condition. He inspired a lot of us to take up different forms of exercise and sports. And we also believe that in two things. One is that technology can change the whole experience of a race like New York. TCS New York City Marathon, which is one of the, if not the best race in the world in terms of the diversity of people, the kind of experiences. So we wanted to embed technology and bring it to life. And the second was that the mission of New York Roadrunners, who are the conveners and the organizers of New York, the TCS New York City Marathon, is that it's not only the races. They work with 250,000 students across the 5 boroughs and across the country to help young people lead a healthy life, right? So it was alignment of our values, and bringing the best of what TCS has to offer. And in the last 5 to 6 years, we have really made a whole journey of integrating our business capabilities, integrating our technology. I can safely say that the TCS New York City Marathon is the most tech-enabled marathon in the world. And we support other races too around the world, by the way. And the integration of our community initiatives, all the way from youth events to in-school events to race volunteerism to supporting the larger cause of health, it's well integrated. In fact, our programs like GoIT and Ignite My Future are featured as part of the New York City Marathon And we have a program called Team TCS Teachers, where we select 50 teachers from across the country who otherwise may not have an opportunity to participate in the marathon, and give them the opportunity to run. And in return, what they do is to bring computational thinking, computer science, digital innovation to their students along with us, through these programs. So it's a symbiotic relationship. They are a terrific organization. We couldn't be more proud to partner with them in bringing this our capabilities around technology and community service to life.
Well, I know that my co-pilot for Purpose 360, Kristen Kenny, who's just marvelous, she's run in the New York Marathon, amazing time, and so she said I had to ask that question, and she also wanted to thank you publicly. So here's your thank you. I wanted to turn a little bit before we close to the outrageous number of hours that your employees volunteered. In 2019, it was over 600,000 hours. And, how do you get that response? And it's large.
Again, it's a privilege. It is the culture of the organization, and within the organization, I don't remember a time where I have ever had to make the business case for doing what is right. Right, that helps a lot. But then I can focus. My team can focus their efforts on identifying the right kind of opportunities. And since we have a lot of bespoke programs that are addressing this whole continuum of education, skilling, employment, and entrepreneurship, what brings those programs to life? We also have programs in health and wellness, water, sanitation, hygiene, environment sustainability. All of these programs have the human capital element embedded in it. So when I said the 4 C's of intellectual capital, technology capital, human capital, and financial capital, we intentionally embed that into a bulk of our programming. In fact, in all our strategic programs. So that becomes the high value opportunities for employees, and many of them clamor because we can't fill we can't use everybody who puts their hands up, because the pace at which we are able to grow our programs is lower than the pace at which people want to participate in it. Yes, being a consulting organization, being one that has so much of technology focus, we try to provide latency and ensure that our customers and their needs come first. So we often rotate our volunteers and provide more people than needed the opportunity to participate. But it has been gratifying to see the kind of support that has come, and all of the leaders lead from the front. In fact, we have over 100 business units, and I can say about 80-90% of the business leaders who lead those units are also participating in these efforts, either on the board of an organization or participating in a technology council, spearheading a pro bono project, or leading a month of community service, or helping with creating online platforms that can house our technology solutions for our community, a variety of areas. So it's been gratifying. There are areas for improvement also. I don't want to paint the picture that everything is rosy. Yes, it is hard work and effort to keep up with the demand and create the right kind of opportunities, and especially with such a large workforce, reiterating the message that yes, you can do anything with your time. That is your time. You can do anything with the volunteering time that you have. But if you choose to do in these programmatic areas, here is the impact it is having. So, an important part of our portfolio is having storytellers and digital marketers who help us craft the message and bring the human element of the connecting the loop, right? So, if somebody goes out and volunteers, what happens as a result of that is then seen by them and their colleagues, and they are able to relate that yes, my time served somebody in a way that change their lives. And that is the effort that is going on.
I'm curious, do you have engagement with the community as part of individual KPIs, or does this just happen as part of your culture?
Both. So at a leadership level, it is part of KPIs, because the community is, in our founders' words, not just another stakeholder, but the very purpose of its existence, right? So at a senior level, it is part of the KPIs. It is part of the annual operating plans for many of our business units and leaders. At a more junior level, we, instead of mandating it, which I think is not the aim, but institutionalizing it, we give them and present them with the opportunity. And in fact, I'm coming fresh off our latest employee survey that happens every year internally, and 97% of our employees have responded saying that they are proud about the opportunity that they are getting to serve and what the company is doing to give back to society.
That's extraordinary. As we close, which I hate to do that, in our conversation, I asked you, who else do you admire for doing, really embedded, authentic purpose work? Can you share a couple of those names and maybe a little bit why?
I have so many friends who are colleagues who are leaders of citizenship and foundations across companies, and I sit on many of the advisory boards. So I love all of them, but the ones that I can relate to in the recent times is, of course, there are many banks and retailers and manufacturing companies who are doing tremendous work. I won't name names there, but the ones that I'm deeply influenced by are Microsoft and Cisco. And the reason is because I'm able to relate to kind of their business model and what they have gone through and how they have embedded purpose into their business. And the whole aspect of not just talking the talk, but walking the walk, right? And doing that over a long period of time, having the leaders and the culture to prove it. I think they stand out in that sense when I look at comparable audience to what we are doing and where we stand. And of course, globally, the foundations like the GE Foundation and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I think, yes, there's always this duality of a billionaire philanthropist that has been spoken about a lot more in recent times. But I think the kind of tremendous work that they're doing, apolitical and across geographies, to really cure some of the most debilitating diseases in the world, I think is admirable. And then there are others who I admire for certain initiatives that they have around grants, certain initiatives around programmatic areas, some companies who have done a tremendous job of building the right team. Because when you and I spoke earlier, I said, organizational design is so important in CSR, right? You cannot just assume that you pick the few bright people and it'll work. Designing the kind of team that makes your purpose and your vision come to life is so important. And I want to call out and mention that I have a tremendous team. They make me look good. They are more talented than I am. And I seek their counsel and learn from them every day in doing the work that I do.
Oh, that's very kind of you, and you have a broad team too. Can you mention how many individuals you have on your team around the globe?
So we have a variety of programs that are running, and so about 400 of them are working in this devoted completely to the CSR space, of which about 200 are working on long-term technology projects, and the other 200 are the ones who run our programs. And we have a leadership team of about 15 to 20 who lead geographies and markets and programs, and constantly work with external partners and agencies to really keep it relevant and stay tuned to what the need is.
We always like to close with a few insights. Now, you've given so many insights to our listeners, but I'd love you to think about there are listeners who they're involved in purpose. They're on a purpose journey. They haven't gotten it to the embedded nature that you have. So what insights do you have for them as they look towards their next steps?
Three things I would mention, which, I wrote about this in the beginning of the year as I reflected on the years that have passed by and what are the trends that are likely to shape our practice in this space. And the three are, first and foremost, that private enterprises are expected to and can play a bigger role in solving core socioeconomic issues. So if you come from a company or a team that has done that before, relook at strategy is always fluid, right? So relook at what the need is, especially in the light of COVID and what it has created for us as new challenges and new opportunities, and intentionally look at stress testing your company's business model for purpose. So that is the first thing. The second is that as an employer, you need to enable your workforce to fulfill their broader purpose. And that does not stop from just providing volunteering opportunities. It is about driving a culture. So if you're doing the first step right, which is embedding purpose, you will have more meaningful opportunities to share and connect that to what people are doing on a daily basis in their job, and extending that to the work that they can do to support the community, right? And point number three is leveraging technology to reimagine the human-centered solutions to solving societal problems. This is a pet topic of mine, and that's why it's part of my mission, is that technology cannot live at the fringe. It has to come to the core of creating solutions. It's no longer nice to say, I have a payment gateway, I have a online system, I have social media and all of that as a company or as a nonprofit serving society. You have to look at using and harnessing the tools that we have, the technologies that we have to solve the tougher problems, the more the problems that can move the needle in a bigger way for community. So these are the three: embedding purpose, enabling employees to find their purpose, and bringing technology from the fringe to the core of solving societal problems.
This has been an amazing conversation, and you've given me so many ideas. I want to talk to you about them offline as well. So I'm thrilled. I will, now that I have been in your offices in Mumbai, and now I have gone through, that was 6 years ago. And now that I'm talking with you, I'm even more in love with Tata as a company, as a leader, TCS. I know so much more about what you stand for and what you do, and yourself. You are one of the rock stars of purpose. I don't know if people say that enough to you, but you are. You are humble. You are smart. You have empathy. You have the engineering side. You know about systems management. And we are just so fortunate to have you as one of, I would say, the luminaries in purpose. So thank you, Balaji, so much for the conversation. And I would like to ask our listeners, truly, I know they've been inspired. I'm going to ask them, what is your purpose?